Thank you for joining us on this edition of the show. Social media has evolved as a fundamental part of our individual, corporate, and national existence. But fake news remains a sad reality. How should an organization deal with the issue of fake news? More on this later on the show. For now, we'll kick off with some news and updates. I am Chukwemeka Agbata. Welcome to Tech Trends.
Some people call this artificial intelligence, but the reality is this technology will enhance us. So instead of artificial intelligence, I think we'll augment our intelligence. In today's technology-driven world, it has become important, now more than ever, to expose children to computational thinking as early as possible so they can keep track of the ever-changing trends dominating the world. The latest in robotics and artificial intelligence is exploring how we can fully deploy technologies that have been around for years and adapt them to our everyday routines. And at this robotics center in Lagos, the younger generation are learning to increase their ability to be creative, innovative thinkers, and productive members of the society.
We identified a gap in the ability of the young generation to come up with creative solutions that can use technology and the platforms available to us to solve problems. And we realized that this gap needs to be filled. And the only way to fill it is to create a process whereby this young generation can learn. And we decided to focus on training because we can't expect them to learn from nowhere. Somebody has to teach them. And of course, we can't rely on government anymore because the institutions are not even designed to have that capacity. So we set out here at Robotics Center to create a place where an environment where we can stimulate ideas. We can build upon those ideas. We can test them out by developing prototypes, and then hopefully where we see potentials, we take it into production.
Here, they not only discover the variety of automation solutions, but also get their hands on innovative projects using strict STEM guidelines. It's not just about creating an app, developing a website, or programming a house. They can program robots and position themselves to properly take advantage of emerging technologies.
This is a prototype of a toy car. So this toy car was made with the most basic robotic components: an Arduino, DC motors, servo motors, and a Bluetooth module. So the Arduino contains the code that controls the toy car. The DC motors are used for the wheels, and the Bluetooth module connects the toy car to the remote control. The remote control is actually an app that I also designed using MIT App Inventor.
I've made a quad pod because it has 4 legs. That's why I call it a quad pod. So it just mimics living things' behavior. Say bionics. Bionics are devices or systems that mimics behavior of living things. I used 12 servo motors as the joints, so as an actuator, just like our joints on our body to enable movement. So there's an Arduino board here, which is a microcontroller, which is the brain of the system. There is a PCA driver that drives all 12 servo motors at once. You can use other drivers to drive them, but I use the PCA driver. There's a battery to power the Arduino and the PCA driver separately. And there's an ultrasonic sensor So when it moves, if there's an obstacle in front, it takes some steps back and turn to that direction and keep on moving.
Working in groups, the young minds explore solutions not limited to the COVID-19 pandemic, like a home automation system, a smart home waste bin, a humanoid prototype, and a medical ventilator.
As you can see, this is a ventilator that doesn't require an oxygen cylinder. It generates its own oxygen by itself. There is a concentrator here. So the oxygen is generated at this section. Then you have the airbag valve here. This is where the oxygen that is being generated from this section is channeled to this section. And then through this mechanism, the compression mechanism, the oxygen is passed through a filter here. This is an air filter. Then passes through the pipe to the patient. So we can actually demo how to wear the mask. So as you can see, you can observe the flip here is opening and closing. So that's a proof that oxygen is actually going through the patient.
I'm here to demo a home automation system that can be controlled via a web interface. And to make this, we use an ESP32 as a microcontroller, and the buttons on the interface are used to communicate with the microcontroller. So to turn the lights off, I'm going to turn off the lights in the room right now. And then I turn it back on. And we have the controller connected to these devices. So if I want to turn on or off the 3D printers, and they are both off at the moment. So I'm turning it back on, and they are both on. So this uses Wi-Fi as the connection medium.
This is a smart home waste bin, and the main aim is to be able to enable the user to trash garbage without having contact with the waste bin. So it works with the ultrasonic sensor, which is mounted at the front of the waste bin, to be able to sense the garbage coming in. So it switches on because it uses adapter. Then senses the bin, it opens and it closes immediately after.
Artificial intelligence, robotics, and coding are just some of the many ideas that have been reserved for the technically inclined adults. But exposing younger minds to these concepts encourages them to improve their intellectual capacity in science and technology.
Cats aren't the best at letting you know when something is wrong, but a new app powered by artificial intelligence claims it can decode the subtle facial cues of kitties to deliver a speedy assessment of their well-being.
Here we go, robot scratches.
The app, called Tably, uses the feline grimace scale, a pain assessment for cats based on ear position, orbital tightening or eye narrowing, muzzle tension, whiskers change, and head position. A study published in the peer-reviewed journal Scientific Reports in 2019 concluded the FGS is a valid and reliable tool for acute pain assessment in cats. Calgary-based developers Sylvester AI says their app integrates the FGS with AI.
What it does is it helps human cat owners know if their cat is in pain or not. So it uses facial recognition technology. All you need to do is take a picture with your camera, and then it can give you a result. Sometimes the cat will be not happy because the cat is annoyed with you, so it's good to take regular pictures and track it over time. It uses artificial intelligence, so specifically machine learning, and it's coupled with the feline grimace scale. And what the feline grimace scale is, it's a way for humans to be able to determine if a cat is in pain or not, based on the ear positioning, the eye positioning, the muzzle, whiskers, things like that. And so we were able to train a machine using machine learning and a series of images to be able to make that determination. So if you're somebody who has a cat but you don't have that training, you can just use the app and it can help you determine how your cat is doing.
At Wild Rose Cat Clinic of Calgary, where the developers trained the app's algorithm, Dr. Liz Ruel hopes it will aid novice cat owners and graduate vets.
Really, I'm a crazy cat person first, so I am quite adept at reading their body language, but for other colleagues, new grads who maybe have not had quite so much cat experience, it can be very daunting to know, is your patient painful? Are we doing a good job at what we do?
However, some early adopters say the app is not quite perfect. A technology journalist tested it and hit a few snags.
So yeah, I used it when I was living with 3 cats, and one of the cats was black, and the machine the app kind of felt it a little bit difficult to read the cat's face, just because black cats have darker faces. There's less light for the complete image. But it is machine learning, so it will learn as more people use it. That's the whole kind of point of AI and machine learning within an app.
Cat welfare expert Alice Potter from UK animal charity, the RSPCA, said the app could be part of a toolkit for pet owners to keep tabs on their cat's health, with body language and behavioral changes also important to monitor.
So paying attention to, how tense they hold their muscles, where they hold their head, is it close to their body, their tail as well. Cats that are like worried or scared will hold their tail really tight and tense to them.
Developers of Tably believe individuals who have no training or experience with cats can determine how their cats are doing with the app. Bolivian parents Angela Poma and Lorenzo Gutierrez only had a landline phone, but things changed when the pandemic struck and their children, Willie, 9, and Carlos, 11, had to take online lessons. The Gutierrez Poma family had to buy mobile phones and moved from a rural area into the city, where they could find better internet services.
My children go to school. The younger one uses the mobile phone all morning, and the older one uses it from 3 to 3:30 p.m. Sometimes, I see my children fighting over the mobile phone when the battery starts running low. I wish the face-to-face classes would start soon. We were conscious of this pandemic, but the bad part of virtual classes is that my children don't learn a lot with this virtual education system.
Once they arrived in the city of Yacha, Angela and Lorenzo faced another problem. They did not know how to use mobile phones. The couple, who work as street vendors, were spending up to $2 a day for internet.
The research that has been done at the Internet Foundation Bolivia shows that there is a problem with digital infrastructure, aerials, optic fiber, being able to have money to buy the megabytes. On the other hand, there is also a problem or obstacle regarding the digital knowledge, because even if they have the equipment or internet, sadly, not all moms, dads, or tutors know of the digital tools, nor all of the tools and platforms that exist for online learning.
Internet Foundation Bolivia has been helping families who are in situations similar to the family by teaching parents how to operate their phones and how to find the best internet packages so their children can study online. Now the Gutierrez Poma family have learned that they can spend a lot less on internet per month and have learned how to use their smartphones.
Coming up is my child Adjola Kayode, a marketing consultant. Stay with us.
Digital media continues to evolve as an important part of an organization's overall strategic plan. One reality that we continue to grapple with is fake news, which has fast become a nightmare for both individuals and organizations alike. The big question: how should organizations manage this menace? What should be the best way to approach this? Our guest, Adiola Kayode, a marketing consultant, discusses some of the ways and strategies that organizations can adopt to ensure that they are not caught unawares. How to be proactive and not reactive, because at the end of the day, fake news, if left unchecked, can hurt a brand negatively.
Adiola, glad to have you on the program today.
Hello, CFA. Thanks for having me today.
Awesome. How would you rate the value that social media has brought about in society today?
Man, it's huge, you know. So social media has moved away from about 5-6 years ago, where it used to be channels where people have social interactions, or a place where you want to relax, you know, you get away a bit from work or connect with family, friends, and long lost ones that you have conversations, to become a mainstream channel of communication in our society today. You know, it's literally the go-to channel where people get information. It's the go-to channel where people want to reach out to their friends. It's the go-to channel where people want to work as well. And I think COVID essentially as well accelerated that, because of course, while people were on lockdown, work needed to go on. People needed to still do their businesses. People needed to still reach out and connect with their loved ones. And of course, it showed in the numbers of the platforms that essentially were social media and communications driven across the world, where while the entire world stopped, these channels spiked because they became the mainstream channel that people use. And of course, as lockdown is gradually easing out in certain parts of the continent, and particularly in Nigeria, it essentially has gained a position as a channel where people look to communicate with one another, and from both government and brands. It's become the primary driving force for communication and engagement. So social media has come to become the primary channel of communication.
Okay, so for brands, what are some of the benefits that it has brought to businesses, brands, and organizations?
I think it's done a lot, you know, particularly when you talk about having to reach out to specific target audience. Social and digital allows you to do that. You can segment the kind of audience that you want to reach. You know, you want to reach out to women only, men only, people within specific age ranges, people within specific locations. Digital has allowed you to do that effectively. Number one. Number two as well, it allows you to scale, you know, to scale up, to dial up your campaign, communication, and scale down as well. You want to be able to reach the entire world, or you want to reach the people of Nigeria, or down to people of Lagos, or down to a specific local government. Digital has allowed you to do that effectively as well. It has as well essentially helped in real-time communication and engagement between brands and people, where if businesses you are able to reach your customers directly, as against times when you actually have to rely solely on offline media. Now you can have a balance of both.
But then there's this issue of fake news, right? Of course, you mentioned some good sides. How do we marry both?
So for every thing in life, or every invention in life, there are also channels in which people will misuse those tools, and those channels for every invention. You know, let's use plane crashes. I mean, people still fly, but then when there are plane crashes, we don't say because there are plane crashes ban air flights. We need to get better at using it efficiently. We need to get better at measuring how to maximize that efficient use of it. So for us, it's to essentially focus on how we can maximize the benefit. You know, focus more on optimizing, getting better on how we can engage it, because ultimately this tool or this invention, once it comes out, digital is morphing every day. People are having to learn a lot more every day. So businesses, as a business and individual, you need to learn a lot more. And as these tools are evolving, you need to be on top of your game as well to know how best to use it and how to optimize the opportunities that are available as well. So yes, we have fake news. And the way I always say it is that fake news thrive because fact is scarce. You know, as long as fact is scarce and people don't know where to look for the original and authentic news, fake news is going to thrive.
So Adeola, are there forms of fake news that people should be aware of?
Thanks for this. So yeah, there are several types of fake news that actually a lot that people need to pay attention to, and to a large extent, they fall into mis and disinformation of people. I think the first one is misleading communication, where people essentially use information to actually frame an individual, but then it's not essentially true. You know, so that's one type. There's imposter content, where you essentially have another information completely. Imagine if, and I think there was a time where that happened, where there was a story in Nigeria about the killing of another Nigerian in South Africa, but the image that was being shown and being thrown around on social media actually happened around 6 or 7 years ago. But because it was recirculated, people thought it was the immediate. You know, so people started sharing it. So that's some imposter content about fake news right there. There's also some where you can now have fake content itself, where people actually deliberately created information because they actually want people to believe what is not true. You know, in the age of a lot of digital tools where you can create your own information, you can put the logo of one company on another product, you can place another thing, maybe an insect on another product. You can, I mean, a lot can be done. You can actually arrange some photo shoots yourself and make it look deliberately as if something happened, and then share that online, and then it then goes viral because people are drawn to those kind of information and they're likely going to share it as well. So there's also misalignment on context, you know, where certain things happen, but people misinterpret what it is. And then because it fits into what people are looking out for, they tend to share that information as well.
Now, as we begin to close the show, I'd like to ask you about the reality of what the government is trying to do when it comes to guarding social media. What is your take?
I think, so for me, the way I essentially look at this is, yes, the way to deal with this is to get into the space, understand it, and how best to make use of it. Because we can't have a Ferrari and then park it in the garage, you know, and that's the way essentially I have seen it. Because I mean, there's a history of long-term distrust between people and government. So when the government says that they want to enter into an industry or space, people tend to be afraid. You know, the entertainment industry, media industry. When government says they want to come into that space, people are always afraid because it almost looks as if there's some limitation on how or the potential is. So the way I say it is going to be a tough one, because ultimately the biggest tool that we have are the nation's youth, and they are leveraging digital to build businesses, to build their life, to build reputation, to run their startups, to recruit audience, to connect with people. And ultimately, what we need to understand is how best can we help these people to focus on it rather than trying to limit the impact or the possibilities of how they can use this tool in reaching whatever they want to be able to do with it. So for me, I think it's, I don't think it's something that they should be able to do. Ultimately, I mean, the Nigerian youth have always grown by turning obstacles into possibilities. I think what is happening, the negotiations that are happening is actually good, but I think as it's just a function of time, I think all that will be reversed. We'll probably, and I think what this will turn to is having these social and digital organizations on ground, so that the government itself can see how they can benefit from this relationship. I think that's where this will go ultimately.
Awesome. One thing is clear from what you have said, social media is here to stay. That's the reality. Badola, thank you for being on the show today. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much. I have been chatting with the marketing consultant, Adiola Kayode, who is of the opinion that it is better to be proactive when dealing with social media in general. It is important to know what is being said about your brand, and there are a number of tools out there that can help you monitor social media effectively. It's a wrap on this edition of the show. Watch the entire show on Channels TV, YouTube, or cfablog.ng. For Tech Trends, I'm Chukwemeka Agbata.